Welcome, nerds, to another episode of The Week in Nerdom, your weekly nerdy pop culture news show. Today, we're talking about some AI stuff that happened last week. We've got a pretty decent conversation to have there. We also have The Cure sticking it to Ticketmaster. That's a continuation of an ongoing story. Willow is not canceled after all. Maybe. As well as Rebel Moon just might out Star Wars, and Batman 2 is probably going to be the biggest set of rumors that we're talking about in the rumor mill. All of that and a fair amount more, so let's get into the things. Housekeeping!
Come back in an hour.
All right, so it's either next week or the week after. We will be skipping the regular episode. So as a heads up, we will talk about it on the live show this weekend, but I need to do a little bit of legitimate housekeeping, and I have a photo gig, so it kind of has to line up with the photo gig. And I can't remember if it's going to be the first week of April or the second week of April, but one of those two is going to be an off week, so we will just have to stretch out all of these shorts and things. There might be a couple of fresh shorts over on the Clips channel and such, but as far as like a main episode, we will be skipping that week and we will be returning. So actually, I think it kind of depends on the client. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure he hasn't given me a set date, but I do know it is going to be sometime in the first 2 weeks of April. So there you go. Whoops, as I drop my notes. That is all we have for housekeeping right now. Yeah, let's jump into the news. And today's episode, nerds, is brought to you in part by the Your Mom Thinks I'm Advertiser Friendly t-shirt that you can find over at the General Store on generallynerdy.net. The shirt is a remnant of the adpocalypse, that is when I had the idea to make it, but is as relevant today as ever considering the state of monetization on most social media platforms. So check out generallynerdy.net. At the top, you will see the General Store tab. Click that and you can go right into... There are actually 3 different general stores under the General Store tab. There's merch on all of them, all of which created by me, save for one shirt, which was created by somebody else for me. You can go check all of that out again at generallynerdy.net. And now let's return to the episode. Music section. Let's get into the things. In music today, we're talking about a new track from Atreyu. Mudvayne has announced a tour that is actually pretty interesting for more than just the fact that it's Mudvayne, and The Cure sticking it to Ticketmaster. So no follow-ups, no corrections. We do have new music to talk about. First up is Lil Pump, and the name of this song is Pump Rock X Heavy Metal. Oh, what the hell did I just listen to? So sometimes I like to do reactions to things that are a little bit out of my wheelhouse, hip-hop being one of those things that I just don't have as analytical an ear for as most other genres, and yeah, this is bad. This is very, very bad. I don't listen to Lil Pump regularly. I do listen to like nu metal, which is what people were trying to say this was. They were trying to equate this to the genre of nu metal, and it's not. It is just bad hip hop from my ear point. So unless you are a die-hard Lil Pump fan, definitely keep this one at a very large distance. And then the only other piece of new music that I felt was really worth talking about in the episode is Atreyu put out a new track. They also announced a new EP, which we will get to in just a moment, but the name of the track is Watch Me Burn. This is, again, coming from new EP called The Hope of a Spark. It will be out on April 14th from Spine Farm Records. They also announced a tour with Point North, Within Destruction, and Lilac, I believe is how you say that. Starts May 6th, runs through May 21st. So the song, Watch Me Burn, I really love Atreyu. I really, really do. Up until this point, basically everything they've put out, even the stuff without Alex, has been top notch. The stuff without Alex, the last record, Baptized, not as great as I wanted it to be, but still pretty dang good. So far, what we've heard of this new EP, not staying in line with that. Just really subpar by comparison. One of the things I love about Atreyu is their aggression. This song, I feel like, lacks in that department significantly. The video is a lot of fun. I really, really dug the video. Just didn't seem like the Atreyu I know and love. So I would say a very slight not recommend for this one. All right, so like I said, that's that as far as new music. Now let's get into tours and festivals. We have Greg Puciato starting things off. Greg Puciato, if you do not know, is the former vocalist for Dillinger Escape Plan. Now that Dillinger Escape Plan is no more, he also does vocals in the band Killer Be Killed, which is real nice. And this is the first time he is going out on a solo tour. He has put out 2 solo records since leaving Dillinger. Actually, I believe it's been 2 solo records in the last 2 years. So there is definitely a breadth of content at his disposal. It's not like he's gonna have to do a bunch of covers to fill his hour. But yeah, very interesting. The bands that he's taking on tour with him I've never heard of. So maybe if you've heard these names before, or you're just really, really into Puciato's solo stuff, it'll be worth checking out. But the bands are Escuela Grind, Death Club, and Trace Amount. They are not all going to be on all of the dates, though there are a significant amount of dates. It starts May 3rd in Roseville, California, runs through June 7th in Los Angeles, California, and he goes basically across the country and back in this stretch. So it's pretty extensive, pretty awesome, moving right along. Next up is The Misfits. I called this one. The Misfits have announced 3 dates. They're calling it a little tour. I don't know if it really counts as a tour, just as 3 dates when you're at the level of the Misfits, but if you want to call it that, I guess ain't nobody really arguing with you. So for all 3 dates, they will have the band Fear on the bill, but for all 3 dates, there will be a different band that is following Fear. So on the first date, we have, oh, I just lost my notes. First date, we have Megadeth. Second date, we have Gaslight Anthem. And third date, we have AFI. 3 rather different bands when you consider it, and also Gaslight Anthem being a band on the bill with the Misfits and Fear seems very strange to me. If AFI was only modern AFI, that wouldn't make much sense to me either, but there is definitely a dearth of content for them in their back catalog that they will probably pull from for this show because they do that kind of thing. The dates are as follows. We have July 8th, June 24th is the first one. I got ahead of myself. June 24th in Tampa Bay, Florida. We have July 8th in Newark, New Jersey, and July 15th in Phoenix, Arizona. So the June 24th date, I keep skipping it. June 24th date is with Megadeth. It was uncertain if Megadeth was technically going to headline because Megadeth, or if the Misfits were going to headline because they're the ones putting it together, though it would make a lot more business sense to me if Megadeth were the headliners. So that one, I don't know, if you're in Tampa Bay, then look into it, I guess. But I couldn't decipher one way or the next. As far as the July 8th show, that's the one in Newark, which Gaslight Anthem are also from Jersey, so kind of makes sense that they would be the ones for Newark, but again, Gaslight Anthem with Fear and the Misfits just seems very out of place. And then the Phoenix date in July, the July 15th, there we go. July 15th Phoenix date is AFI, and honestly, do not be surprised if Davey Havok jumps on stage with the Misfits to do maybe Halloween, because famously AFI have covered that, or any other song. Davey Havok at one point kind of thought he was the son of Glenn Danzig, so yeah, I'm sure he's very well versed in anything that the Misfits are going to play on stage, and will likely jump on stage at least once, maybe for an extended amount of time. 2-3 songs wouldn't be out of the question, I would imagine. But yeah, check out, I couldn't find links for these, so you're gonna have to check out, you're gonna have to do a little search on your own to find them. Though, again, if you're a fan of any of these bands, you're probably pretty diehard because their fan base is pretty diehard. So yeah, go check it out. The big one that we're talking about for touring section today is Mudvayne. That's right, I'm super stoked about this one because I missed them when they came through with Rob Zombie. So this time I get to, hopefully I get to go see them. The interesting part about this is we have a number of very interesting bands, and it's, from what I've been able to tell, there's no like different legs of this tour. Everybody is going to be on all of the dates. So, support on this tour is as follows. We have Coal Chamber, that's right, reuniting for a tour. This will be the first time that they've played together on stage in over 8 years, and I think this is the first time they've toured in even longer than that, because 8 years ago when they played together, it was a reunion show, not a tour. This is going to be a proper tour, so there's that. I just got done seeing Devil Driver. We're going to talk about that in the That Just Happened episode, but yeah, it was great. Anyway, and then the next band is Gwar. That's right, Gwar is going to be on this bill following Coal Chamber and Mudvayne, and then Nonpoint, meh, and followed by Butcher Babies. So in reverse order, as the night progresses, it's going to be Butcher Babies, Nonpoint, Gwar, Coal Chamber, and Mudvayne, though Nonpoint and Butcher Babies might actually switch because I think these days Butcher Babies sell more records. So yeah, the dates start July 20th in West Palm Beach, Florida, and they go through August 26th in Inglewood, Colorado. It is a fair amount of dates on this tour, so you should be able to catch them. Again, no link for this one. Go check out Mudvayne's website, though I would imagine they will have links there as soon as they are available. The links were not available when I was doing research for this, so sad, but that is the state of things. And then our final tour that we're talking about in this section is The Offspring. Support from Simple Plan and Sum 41, so pop punk's kind of heavy hitters these days. The only thing missing is Blink-182. Right? So yeah, the dates start August 1st in Auburn, Washington, run through September 3rd in Mansfield, Massachusetts. Again, no link available yet, no tickets actually on sale just yet, so you're gonna have to go check out the websites or just look it up on the Live Nation website, because they kind of run everything these days. And we're actually gonna get to that in just a minute, but yeah, that's the tour section. That's what we got. Let's move into regular ass news. We got the first thing in this section is Hollywood Vampires, the band that Johnny Depp is in with Alice Cooper and, oh hell, who was the guitar player? The other guitar player, I guess. Not Slash. Was it Slash? It might have been Slash. I can't remember. But either way, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is in the music section. Hollywood Vampires are putting out a live album. I didn't know they had enough material to, have a decent live album to throw out. It's going to be live in Rio. It will be due out sometime in June. Just a real quick bit to start off this section. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes, and that is The Cure. That's right. We have The Cure sticking it to Live Nation and Ticketmaster. So here is what happened. And I'm going to kind of abbreviate this as what I can and paraphrase everywhere possible as well. So this isn't going to be like a play-by-play. This is just the TLDR, if you will. So basically, The Cure announced a tour. We talked about it previously. And when tickets went on sale, they had a deal worked out with Ticketmaster so that the tickets were going to be a reasonable price. And part of the ticketing deals that every band makes with Ticketmaster means they also get a little bit of a cut of the resale, because Ticketmaster has it as such. Ticketmaster and Live Nation, the two are going to be interchangeable in this because they're the same company. So Ticketmaster, they have a resale platform on the website. So if you say buy tickets and you can't go to the show and you learn this after the fact, then you can then sell those tickets on the Ticketmaster Live Nation website, or a Ticketmaster Live Nation owned website rather. It's not that directly. There's, I think, actually multiple of them, but they all go back to Ticketmaster. They all get a cut of those sales. So that's part of the reason why they are incentivized to really not do much about scalpers. Scalpers, you know, very notoriously will buy tickets at face value and then sell them for much, much more, especially in a situation like this. However, The Cure didn't like the way that worked. Because Ticketmaster controls the secondary market, the secondary sales market, they thought this was not good business practice, and so they worked out a deal that Ticketmaster was only going to allow resale tickets happen through a face value reseller, meaning that the only way to sell your tickets after you have already purchased them should be that you go through this very specific reseller and that you can only sell them for what you paid for them. So if you spent $100 a ticket, then you can only sell them for $100 a ticket. I believe the taxes and fees and everything factors into that as well, but that finds its way out in the back end anyway. So, a couple of issues popped up with this. First, it was very difficult to do that in 3 very specific states. Chicago's not a state. Illinois, Colorado, and New York, because these 3 states have laws on the books basically allowing aftermarket sales to be scalped effectively. I couldn't get into the details. I didn't have the time to get super in depth in this part of it. But basically that's the way it boils down, is these 3 states have rules on their books, or laws rather, on their books that allow scalping and actually almost encourage scalping, from my understanding of it. So that was an issue that I think they're still trying to work around. And then the other thing was, other states, aside from those 3 states, there were reselling issues that happened there as well. And in response to that, The Cure went straight to Ticketmaster and said, we have to fix this. So certain fans were reporting that it was going to be over $1,000 a ticket. Wow, $1,000 a ticket to see The Cure, because they could only get resale tickets because they sold out, which sucks because I wanted to go as well. But yeah, so there was anyone who spent that much money, anyone who spent more than face value on the resale market, Ticketmaster was then forced, which is awesome, I love you, Robert Smith, Ticketmaster was forced to refund the difference. So yes, please, and thank you. More giant acts need to get on board with this and stop paying lip service to it and stop expecting the government to do something. It is within, The Cure has very well illustrated that it is within the power of the artist to tell Ticketmaster how to do proper business with music fans. This is awesome. Again, more and more bands need to do this. That, though, is what we have for regular ass news. I'm super stoked to be keeping tabs on this Ticketmaster situation as it continues. The only thing left to talk about is suggestions for the week. Suggestion for music this week is Atreyu's The Curse. This is the record, not the record that made me fall in love with the band necessarily, but by and large my favorite record and the record that blew them up in the music community. This record is the reason why the new material seems subpar to me, because this is the bar by which you grade Atreyu material. This record is far and above one of the best metalcore albums that has ever come out, so you should go check it out this week. That is your suggestion. Gaming and tech is going to be a little bit different this week, because instead of doing follow-ups and corrections proper, we're just going to kind of talk about what happened last week in AI. We also have Star Wars Jedi Survivor trailer dropped. We also have Ryan Reynolds, and that's going to be another big chunk of the gaming and tech portion. And we've got a couple other things to talk about, so let's jump into follow-ups. There is no correction to make this week, but we do have a big follow-up on AI, because last week AI kind of was everywhere. Got on everyone's face neck. It got on everyone's face, neck, and chest, if you will, to quote Kevin Smith in a rather crass way. But, all right, so we got the announcement that Midjourney version 5, that actually was last weekend. Midjourney version 5 is now up. If you are a Midjourney subscriber, that is the only way to get into version 5 at the moment. You can't, if you're on your free trial, whatever it is, 20 images or whatever, you cannot access version 5. You have to be paying the monthly fee. So there's that. There's also Google announced their Bard AI, which runs on the Lambda large language model that they've been creating for some time. Bard, I tried to get in. There is still a waiting list. So all of the outlets are saying that it was launched. I believe this is still in the beta phase. It is not 100% available just yet, but the waiting list is active and some people have already got access to it. It seems that Google is still falling behind in this. GPT-4 was also announced. We talked about that in the last episode because it actually came out kind of last week. They're slowly unlocking certain elements of it through Microsoft's Bing chat and also through ChatGPT, though ChatGPT still is running on GPT 3.5. So it's very confusing there. So the Bard situation, Bard is more likely to be inaccurate than GPT, which is hilarious to me because Google for so long has been the front runner in all of this stuff, and now Microsoft is legitimately taking it from them because they got in with OpenAI first. They were the ones that swooped in and created a relationship with OpenAI so that barred OpenAI from doing anything with Google, but Google apparently wasn't super interested in doing that anyway because they were already working on such things behind the scenes themselves. And it seems that their version of things is not as powerful. So GPT-4 now comes in the 90th percentile on like the bar exam in the States. There's a number of other things that it excels at. There's a number of things that didn't really change as far as testing the AI goes. And there's actually a couple of things, I think, if I'm remembering this information correctly, where it actually degraded instead of upgraded, but only minor degrade. I think it went from like 80th percentile or 90th percentile to 80th percentile, something like that. So yeah, but the Bard chat, the Google's AI I don't even believe they've tested it just yet because of its beta status. Getting reports of a lot more inaccurate information that's coming back. It's not as creative as GPT-4 or ChatGPT, and just a number of other issues. I don't know. Last week was nuts. And there's also there's been the announcement Microsoft is integrating because previously, when these two went head-to-head about a month ago or so, Microsoft said that it was going to be integrating its AI elements into Microsoft 360. So their suite of like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and so on and so forth, all of that stuff that comes with Microsoft 365 is now being integrated into AI, or the AI rather is being integrated into it. So Google also announced that it is going to be doing the same. It's going to be integrating their AI into Gmail, into Google Docs, into all of the Google Workspace apps that are available through Google Workspace. And I don't think that really is going to be Linus and on the WAN show, Linus Tech Tips on the WAN, their WAN show, their weekly live show, talked about how Microsoft has the edge here because of what is the damn program? Google Workspaces, Microsoft Office Connect, whatever, Office Chat, whatever their app is, because Slack is less integrated into most big offices than Microsoft Office and the suite there, the 365 suite that we just talked about. That kind of gives Microsoft the edge already because the Meetings, I believe, is what they call their meeting app that is like Slack or Zoom or whatever. And so because it's integrated into meetings, it already is going to be taking notes for you. It's going to fill you in if you're late or if you miss a meeting, so on and so forth. And it doesn't sound like Google's integration is going to have that same level of integration, that same level of interactivity. So just dropping the ball left and right, Google. So far, not a whole lot has been talked about as far as other large language models, large language AI, chatbots, and so on and so forth, aside from like the really silly ones that the really lonely people use, but we're not even gonna go anywhere near that stuff. This is going to be an ongoing thing as these integrations and as the interactivity gets rolled out into the respective apps and app suites. We'll see the usability and how fast Microsoft reacts to issues versus how fast Google reacts to issues. So far, Microsoft has reacted very, very quickly, and Google has really, really been dragging their feet. So yeah, this very well could be a very pivotal point in AI. But I think I've rambled on the AI stuff long enough. Let's get into the rest of the gaming and tech section. We're going to move now into trailers. In trailers, we got a new Star Wars Jedi Survivor trailer. I wish I had a current gen. I'm still on previous generation hardware for my gaming console. I'm working with an Xbox One. This is going to be only PC, Xbox Series, and PlayStation 5. And this, honestly, up to this trailer, I was like, all right, it looks cool. I didn't play the previous game, so like it was kind of a meh, maybe I'll try and find the other one and play that first. Now I just want to get an Xbox Series and play this one because this trailer's doing its job really well. Really like Cameron Moynihan. He's doing fantastic as Cal Kestis, and yeah, go check out the trailer. Now let's get into some regular ass news. We got another rambly piece to talk about. We're gonna kick things off with the Ryan Reynolds bit. So unless you live under a rock, which entirely possible, or you decided you wanted to pay for your YouTube experience and so you have YouTube Premium, you probably have seen a commercial very recently even from Mint Mobile. Ryan Reynolds was the owner of Mint Mobile. I believe owned a controlling share of Mint Mobile, I believe is the proper vocabulary for how that situation was. Well, Ryan Reynolds is now selling the company, or at least selling his majority stake in the company to T-Mobile, which is an interesting take. So, a lot of people have been responding to this rather negatively because the reason that they went with Mint Mobile is because they liked the pricing and they also liked the fact that it wasn't one of the major carriers. However, the network that Mint Mobile is built on is the T-Mobile network. So you are already using T-Mobile's stuff. There's a really great breakdown. I believe it actually comes from one of the Linus Media Group channels, Tech Quickie, I believe, or Short Circuit, one of the two. It is definitely worth a watch. I'll see if I can find the link and include it down in the show notes. But yeah, there is a really great breakdown explaining how things like Mint Mobile and
Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. But if you're an American, I'm sure you've seen commercials for Boost Mobile, Consumer Cellular, Google Fi, and many others.
Boost Mobile and other like-minded cell carrier, digital, whatever, how they work and how they are actually built on the networks of other carriers. So it only makes sense that once they got to a place where they were doing enough business, that T-Mobile just kind of came in and swooped them up. The biggest issue is that it was being sold as kind of the little guy sticking it to the big guy, and now the big guy owns it, and people feel betrayed by Ryan Reynolds, which is fairly understandable. It should be noted, to whatever degree this makes a little bit of difference, should be noted that Ryan Reynolds is not leaving the company. He is going to stay on. I couldn't parse out the exact title he's going to be retaining, something along the lines of creative director, consultant, something like that. He's still going to be the face of the company, effectively, is what it boils down to. It's still going to be him in the commercials. He's still going to be the one that makes, that sells you on the thing. Now that gets a little bit sticky because when questioned in a press release talking about the purchase of Mint Mobile, T-Mobile's comments were, there are, and I'm going to quote this as closely as I can because I didn't put the direct quote in the notes, but I'm going to get as closely as I can, but it's still a paraphrase. They said something along the lines of, there are currently no plans to make any changes to Mint Mobile. It is still business as usual at the company. So currently no plans, meaning right now there are no plans, but in the future there might be. So effectively they made a non-statement saying that, well, rest assured everyone, we're not going to screw you over until we screw you over, is effectively what that comes out as, because again, it's a very non-statement statement. This is going to be something that we very much keep track of for a while. There are some numbers to get into here as well, because not only did he sell his Mint Mobile, but he also sold Aviation Gin, Ryan Reynolds did. So for the Aviation sell, he got reportedly around $600 million. The T-Mobile purchase of Mint Mobile was for $1.3 billion, with a B, billion dollars, though Reynolds does not get that entire sell money. It is estimated he's getting somewhere in the neighborhood of about $300 million. So between the two, Aviation and Mint Mobile, Ryan Reynolds is making almost $1 billion in sales. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for him. It's just, I don't know, it seems strangely disingenuous to make such a big deal of being the face of a thing and then getting out relatively quickly. I mean, yes, I understand that he owned Aviation for some time, but like, it's just now becoming big and he's getting out. I don't know. Same thing with Mint Mobile. It just seems really quick, if you understand what I'm going for. But that's basically the conversation we're having there. Let's move now to the quick piece for gaming and tech, and that has to do with Vice. And this one I just had to put in here just because I think that it's hilarious that tech media is starting to regret mistakes of the past. And we'll get into that in just a second. So Vice is looking to be purchased. They're putting it out there that they cannot make day-to-day things happen. They're just not getting the numbers that they once were. Apparently, a few years ago, they had a valuation of approximately $5.3 billion in worth. And the people who were running the company, that's long after Gavin McInnes had left, and the guy that he started the company with got out right about that time, so he made a fair amount of money. And then when they were, I can't remember who it was that purchased them at the time, but that's, roughly what they were worth. Now they have since gone out on their own after that purchase and are now worth only $400 million. So they have lost almost a full $5 billion in value in I believe it's the last like 3 to 5 years, which is just hilarious to me. Because, so the reason, what I was saying about tech media and regretting sins of the past is that, so a few years ago, and I think this is actually still common practice, but less common than it was even 2 to 3 years ago, pre-COVID, let's say. And then it started to kind of be shown for what it really was during COVID and since COVID. But the common practice for tech media was they would find, like you see those, I can't even think of the websites that do this anymore. I think Quora was one, and there were a number of other ones. But basically, you see those clickbaity ads that take you to a site that are like 25 incredible pictures from World War II or something. And you go to, you get suckered in whatever the clickbait line is. You get suckered into clicking it, and then you look at these pictures, and each picture loads a brand new page. That is that counts for traffic on those pages. Each individual click counts as a new uptick in their traffic counter, breaking it down as simply as possible. So then what these websites would do, because basically they were usually run by very small companies or even individuals, and they would then sell that traffic to anybody who was willing to buy it, effectively. And tech media was kind of especially younger upstart things like Vice were ones that bought a lot of this traffic so that they could artificially inflate their valuation so that when they went public, they could make a lot of money. That's basically how that worked. But these were not actual clicks. These were purchased clicks, legally purchased, and it was not seen as an issue at the time, but still purchased traffic. When it came time to put the rubber to the road, the actual traffic wasn't there. The advertisers who were buying this, the space on these pages weren't seeing the return on investment that they were sold when they saw how much traffic this site was reportedly getting. So now that seems to be coming around and biting at least Vice, but very likely others as well, but at least Vice in the ass. And so going forward, hopefully this becomes less of a practice. Yeah, again, just a real quick kind of chit chat about Vice and the issues with modern traffic purchasing and such. But yeah, that's what we have for regular ass news. So let's get into our tech suggestion this week. That's right. It's not a gaming suggestion. It is a tech suggestion. It's actually a YouTube channel because it's just something I watch constantly, and that's the Honest Trailers. It's the show on Screen Junkies. So the suggestion is Screen Junkies. Go subscribe to Screen Junkies. Not that they need me to send them traffic, but it's just good stuff. It's good quality nerdy stuff, especially if you are a cinemaphile or any sort of appreciator of the movie stuff and things. That's your suggestion. Go check it out. Comic books and books. Let's do this. We have not a whole lot going on in comic books today. We have some cancellations to talk about in the follow-up section. We also have a Loki miniseries launching and then a suggestion or two. So let's get into this. So follow-ups and corrections. Cancellations are what we're talking about for follow-ups. We have Tim Drake Robin, which is a series that we announced when it first began, as well as that new Batgirls book that we talked about as well, also when it began. Batgirls has been running for a bit longer. Tim Drake Robin will be done as of issue number 10, and Batgirls will be canceled as of issue number 19. So issue 19 is out this week, or this month rather, and issue 10 for Tim Drake Robin will be out in April. So those books didn't sell. Surprise, surprise. We're not going to get into that, but didn't sell enough to justify their existence, so now they're canceled. There you go. And so I say that, but like the Bat family is one of the things that keeps DC afloat. So really, this is like a harbinger of bad things, because if the Bat family, the ancillary books to the Batman books, are not doing well, that is a very big sign that your company probably should reevaluate its direction. But again, we're not going to get too deep into the politics of why this is. Then let's talk about regular ass news. We got a new Loki book coming from Marvel sometime in June. Loki miniseries, reportedly going to be coinciding with the Loki, the series on season 2 on Disney Plus. Really no big announcement here. Kind of expected this because this is the way that they've kind of created their new business model around the Disney Plus shows. We will see how well this does. It is planned to be a mini-series this time, though, so if it doesn't sell, they're not going to lose as much money as if they had intended for it to be an ongoing series. So that's what we got in regular-ass news. This is going to be a quick comic books and books because we're into suggestions. Suggestions for comic books. We have Deadpool issue 42 and 43 from the 2012 to, I think it went 2012-2015 run. The Brian Posehn run, 42 and 43 is specifically the Deadpool versus Omega Red arc. Omega Red is one of my favorite Marvel villains. Deadpool is one of my favorite heroes. This is not the first time they've gone head to head, but I really, really liked the Posehn run. And this is actually the second time I have suggested these books because it's just that much damn fun. Go check out Deadpool fighting Omega Red in Deadpool's issues 42 and 43. TV streaming. All right, let's talk about TV news. We have, we're talking about the Orville. We have Willow in the follow-up section. We have Sweet Tooth trailer for season 2 and a bit more. So in follow-ups and corrections, follow-up on Bel Air, season 3 has been confirmed. Now that season 2 is currently going up onto Peacock, I believe is where that one goes. Now that season 2 is happening, season 3 has been confirmed. They will be coming back for a 3rd season. I dug season 1, have yet to start season 2. I actually didn't technically finish season 1, but it's good. It's good. It's worth a watch. I think I did it as a suggestion when it was about 3 or 4 episodes deep. So go check it out. Yeah, season 3 happening. Next, we're talking about the Orville. This is actually just a quick update from Seth MacFarlane. He has confirmed that he wants to do a 4th season for the Orville, but considering that Hulu is owned by Disney, Disney is in crazy amounts of flux right now, he's uncertain if they will actually get a renewal for a 4th season. They have not been canceled at the moment, but they have not been renewed yet either, which is crazy because season 3 was so good. So I'm just, you know, let's raise the profile of the Hulu show, The Orville, because everyone should watch it, especially if you are a science fiction fan or a Star Trek fan or just a nerdy person in general. Regardless of whether or not you agree with Seth MacFarlane's personal politics, this series is fantastic. You should watch it. We're going to get more in depth in that in just a second. But yeah, that is The Orville. Next, we're talking about Willow. We talked previously, I think we talked about it in the live show, that Willow has been canceled after the 1st season. Well, Jonathan, where'd my notes go? Jonathan Kasdan, the showrunner for the show, has come out and said, actually, tales of our demise are premature. But there's a little bit of an issue with the statement. So in his statement, he basically said what we were talking about with the Mindhunter series over on Netflix. Mindhunter released their actors after season 2 was done, released their actors from their contracts so that they could get work. Presumably, eventually, they would be coming back to do a 3rd season. And then that got shut down pretty dang quick. So what Kasdan is saying is basically the same thing, is we weren't sure when we were going to get to make a 2nd season, so we let everybody out of their contracts so that they could get other work, because if they're just waiting for us, they're not making money. And we are going to be returning for volume 2 is what he's referring to it as. And in his statement, he also made reference to the fact that there is going to be an option for a volume 3 for the Willow series as well. Still haven't been able to bring myself to watch Willow just yet, so don't know personally if I'm okay with a volume 2 happening, though it seems Kasdan is really putting it out there that they're going to be pushing forward with this. We have experience with such issues, though, and previous experience does not bode well for this series if they've let all of the actors out of their contracts. It could turn around. It could happen that we get a 2nd season for this. I'm not holding my breath, though, and either should you. So that's what we have for our follow-up section. We do have one trailer to talk about this week. Sweet Tooth Season 2 finally got a trailer. If you didn't watch the 1st season, now would be a good time to catch up on Sweet Tooth. I know I am going to be very likely be doing that over the course of the next week or so. So season 2 looks great. I know a little bit about the story of season 1, and it looks like season 2 is picking up pretty much straight off. Jeff Lemire does great work. I'm very excited to watch this. You should be too. Let's move on. There is no regular S news. So, suggestions for TV streaming. The suggestion, you probably guessed it, The Orville. Go watch all 3 seasons on Hulu. This show is absolutely worth your time. Season 1 is a little goofy, trying to find, exactly the voice of what MacFarlane wanted to do with it. Season 2 finally finds the voice, and season 3 picks it up and runs with it. This show is so good. If you are a Star Trek fan, if you are a science fiction fan, if you are just a nerdy person who really likes good quality programming, this show absolutely deserves to be watched. Go check out The Orville. movies, baby. We got movies to talk about. We have some follow-ups. We got Rebel Moon and Star Wars in the follow-ups. Pretty big Star Wars thing going on in the movies. Then we have Gears of War also in follow-ups, and The Legend of the White Dragon. You're going to want to stick around for this because it's actually really, really cool. And then we've got other things going on in the other subsections, but really this is all about the follow-ups. So let's get into that. Follow-ups for movies. We have Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder has confirmed that this is not just going to be a moon. That ain't no moon, at least not just a moon. It is going to be a universe. There is comic books planned. There are video games planned. This just might out Star Wars. I know I'm not the first person that's said that, but there is the big issue here, the big issue when anyone tries to do what Snyder is trying to do is proper integration, because a lot of the people who are going to watch the movie, and because it's on Netflix, that's a whole lot of people who wouldn't have otherwise gone to the theater because it's streaming. It's easier. You're going to have a lot of people watch the movie. There's also potential plans for a number of series, not the least of which at least one animated series he's alluded to as well. So very likely you'll get people who watch the movie. And then if another movie happens, they'll watch the next movie, but they're not going to do any of the filler stuff. So the big thing is, how do you push people to watch the series that's associated with it? How do you push people to read the comic book that's planned? How do you push people to play the game that's planned? It's going to be an RPG. He said it very explicitly. It's going to be an RPG that the developers he's talking to, he did not say specifically what development house he's going to for the development of the game, but whoever it is has said that there is going to be a lot of development time included in this because it's going to be huge. So a huge game, lots of development. The movie comes out soon-ish. I didn't put down the exact date because I take amazing notes, all right? So the movie's coming out soon-ish. Again, going to be on Netflix, so it's probably going to get a fair amount of people watching it. I would venture we will get at least 2 movies in the Rebel Moon universe, maybe even one series out of this. But beyond that is a giant gamble, because again, how do you get people to want to do the filler stuff? And how do you also make the big tentpole pieces big enough that people understand the story still, even if they didn't fill in with the series and games and such? So very big order on Zack Snyder's plate, but he seems up for the task. As more comes out about this, we will be talking about it, but that's just huge. Let's move on. Next in follow-ups, we have the Star Wars piece that I talked about at the beginning of the section. Damon Lindelof, the all but secret Star Wars movie he was working on, now has been called into question. His future with the franchise seems to be non-existent. Everyone is reporting that he has officially left. Again, because this is based on the rumored existence of this movie, we cannot confirm 100% that he has gone. But he made statements that have alluded to such things in the very near past, or the very recent past, rather. So, yeah, Star Wars Celebration happens in April. It's in the UK. We will know a whole lot more about a lot of situations once that happens, so stay tuned for that. Next, Good Burger. This is a confirmation of rumor. Good Burger 2 is officially happening. I saw one outlet say the surprise existence of a sequel to Good Burger. It's not really a surprise. The rumor mill has been churning with this one for some time. So Good Burger 2 is happening. Production is set to begin in May, and the movie potentially could be released sometime this year, sometime 2023, because probably a relatively low budget, not a whole lot of post is going to be needed for a silly teen comedy or a follow-up to a silly teen comedy. Don't know exactly the content of this movie, but Keenan and Kel both are going to be returning for it. It's going to be awesome. We're actually going to revisit that in a second in the regular ass news. But next we have an update on the Gears of War universe that's also going to be existing in the Netflix sphere of streaming. So John Spates, I believe is how you say that name, who is currently writing Dune 2, who was part of the writing team that gave us Dune 1, also works with Denis Villeneuve, and that's noteworthy in and of itself. He has been brought in to write the first movie of the Gears of War series, because we do know that Netflix plans on doing at least a number of movies for this, if not even an actual series as well. So yeah, pretty excited about that. Jon Spaihts, if his credits are anything to go on, and hopefully they are, Dune is part of his oeuvre of projects, and one of the best movies to come out in the last 5-6 years. Maybe not saying much. One of the best movies to come out in 10-12 years. We'll say that, because COVID kind of throws a wrench in things. So yeah, definitely excited about that. We have more. I told you it's going to all be mostly about follow-ups. We have more follow-ups. Next up is Gladiator 2. This is a casting announcement. Previously, we've reported that Gladiator 2 is actually happening. Russell Crowe is not going to be involved in the project. That's not the new piece. The new piece is Barry Keoghan. Keoghan? I think it's Keoghan. Barry Keoghan, who played the Joker in The Batman and has done a number of... He was in The Eternals, though nobody cares about that. He has been cast in the movie as Emperor Geta. Geta. I think it's Geta, who was a real emperor, but it is going to be a fictional story. So yeah, that's our real quick update there. And then the other one that I'm kind of super excited about is The Legend of the White Dragon. Jason David Frank's final movie is going to be released posthumously. And the big update here is that they are, in fact, getting a theatrical release for this. So this is done by Bat and the Sun. Bat and the Sun is a YouTube channel. They do great stuff. They do the Superpower Beatdown, where fans get to vote on, Wolverine versus the Predator, who's going to win. And then they, make the thing happen. They film a live-action version of that. It's great. I love it. Yeah, so I kind of should have put that in the whatever. Either way, the White Dragon movie, Jason David Frank's final movie, because it was this movie that he was filming when tragically he took his own life. This movie is going to be getting a theatrical release. It sounds like it is going to be a relatively limited release in theaters. Think a la Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, so on and so forth. That's going to happen though, and I'm super stoked for it. There is no proper release date for this movie, nor any announcement as to where it is going to go once it does finalize, once they're done with it and they, release it. So after it's in theaters, is it just going to go up on their YouTube channel? Is it going to get picked up by maybe a Netflix or something? All of that very much remains to be seen, though we do know that it is, they're shooting for a fall window of release. So as we get more details, we would definitely be covering this one. Oh, and Jason David Frank, for those that maybe know the name but don't know why, he was the Green Ranger in the OG Power Rangers in the States, and then has done a number of other things, but that's kind of the big one. Green Ranger, then turned into the White Ranger, then came back as a Red Ranger at one point, I believe. But yeah, Jason David Frank he was in a couple of Superpower Beatdowns. He played the White Ranger in White Ranger versus Scorpion, where I totally disagree with the outcome of that one. But anyway, yeah, that's awesome. Let's move to trailers. We got a new trailer from Netflix, new adorable kids movie called Chupa. Oh boy, April 7th is the release date for this one. It looks really cute, but wow, what an unfortunate title. If you speak Spanish, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, Chupa? Really? Chupa? Like Chupacabra, that's what you're trying to go for. Just name it Chupacabra, because the implication of the shortened version is not what you wanted it to be. Let's move on, though. Let's get into some regular ass news. We got a couple of new, couple of new movie announcements, kind of. First one is a legitimate announcement. It's called Dear Santa. It's going to be starring Jack Black. The Farrelly brothers are going to be producing the movie, writing, directing the movie. Jack Black is presumably going to be playing... Jack Black is going to be playing the devil who accidentally receives a letter intended for Santa, because the kid doesn't know how to spell Santa, so he spells Satan and it gets sent to Jack Black's devil. And the hilarity ensues. I don't know what the tone of this they're going for. Is it going to be like a comedy horror? Definitely going to be comedy of some sort because Jack Black. But is it going to be like family comedy? Being as he's the devil, it seems less likely to me, but who knows with Netflix anymore. But and honestly, I don't think this is a Netflix movie, so I don't know why I just said that. But either way, last time these guys got together, they brought us Shallow Hal, so Yeah, I'm assuming something along those lines. But the other piece of regular-ass news we got is, speaking of Kenan and Kel and Good Burger, Mystery Men 2. Kel Mitchell and Ben Stiller... no, I'm sorry. Kel Mitchell and Hank Azaria are going to Ben Stiller to pitch a Mystery Men 2. Ben Stiller is not generally one to do sequels, and for good reason. Go watch Zoolander 2 and you'll see what I'm talking about. So it better be a good pitch, but it's just, we're putting that out in the ether because I think that would be a fun movie to get a sequel. This goes in line with the proposed sequel that we talked about previously for Dodgeball, which is another movie that people are trying to get Ben Stiller to make sequel to. And he's just pretty resistant to the idea these days. Again, go watch Zoolander 2 to know why. That's what we got for regular ass news. So let's talk movie suggestions for the week. Mortal Kombat 1995, the OG gaming, good gaming movie. The reason why people still hold out hope that potentially you can make a quality gaming adaptation is the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. I remember this was honestly the first movie I ever personally saw multiple times in the theater. Pretty awesome. It's a little weird because it's based on a very mature rated game and there's very little, if any, blood in the movie, but still, the reason why people keep trying to make video game adaptations into movies is this one right here, because it was the first glimmer of hope that this is a possibility, and totally forget about the follow-up movie Annihilation, because it's not worth anybody's time unless you are a dyed-in-the-wool Mortal Kombat fan. But yeah, go watch 95 for sure. And that brings us to the rumor mill. In the rumor mill, Batman 2, Blade, Gattaca, things. Let's talk about them, shall we? So first up is the second biggest. We're gonna save the biggest one for the end. But the second biggest is Batman 2. We have rumor that Paul Dano and Colin Farrell are both going to be reprising their roles from the first movie as the Penguin and the Riddler and Penguin respectively. This one comes from a pretty weak source. I'm gonna put this right at about 50% because we know that Colin Farrell is returning to the character of the Penguin because he's doing the Penguin series. So it would be a minor inclusion. It would be a minor ask to include him also in the Batman 2, but the Paul Dano piece is kind of why this one doesn't really get much over halfway there, because I don't know, that just seems like a taller order, if you will. Next, we're talking about Blade. It is being reported that now the issues with the script have axed Kit Harington from the movie. Kit Harington's Black Knight, I believe, is who he's playing. Dane Whitman has been cut from the movie in spite of being set up in the end of the Eternals. Honestly, so far, we have everything that has been reported on Blade has effectively come to fruition. There's no way to confirm that Mahershala Ali being the reason why the script wasn't good enough is 100% the thing, but we know that the script wasn't good enough because they pushed production back by a lot. So it's you know, it's kind of six one way, half a dozen the other. It's very likely that that's the situation, especially because so many insiders are reporting the exact same thing. So because this one does come from a couple of pretty good sources, we're putting this one right up to about 70% likely that we will not actually be seeing Kit Harington in the Blade movie. Moving on, next we have a Gattaca rumor. So series in the works for Showtime set a generation after the film. Gattaca was a fantastic science fiction movie, a almost cyberpunk-y delivery of a science fiction story, in that the time frame would have been similar to a cyberpunk story, though very low on the cyberpunk elements. Still a good quality movie. Setting it a generation later means you don't have to use any of the original actors, which is a little silly that you would do that, because kind of was like pivotal on who was in it, but you know, whatever. Yeah, likelihood that we're getting a series on Showtime. This, not a great source, just seems kind of out of the blue. I don't think Gattaca is really doing great numbers in streaming. I've watched it probably twice since it hit streaming. but I'm also kind of a unique case when it comes to stuff like that. So I just don't see it. We're going to put this a little bit less than halfway. We're going to say about 40% likely that Gattaca will be getting a series on Showtime. Next, we're talking about Mephisto. This is the big one. Mephisto. The Disney Plus special is reportedly filming currently. This is the new practice for Disney Plus going forward is reportedly going to be that they're going to be filming multiple projects at the same time, especially if those projects are related in any way. So because they are currently in production on Agatha, I think that's kind of assumed. The Mephisto thing is being filmed at the same time. It is going to be a Disney Plus special event, much like the Werewolf by Midnight situation was. Sacha Baron Cohen is going to be coming in as Mephisto, which is a whole slew of potential issues in and of itself. I think this is smart on Disney's part, if this is to be believed, if this is actually the way that they're going with their productions from now on. So we're going to put this one a little bit over halfway there because it makes sense. Not the greatest source, but it makes sense. We're going to say about 60% likelihood that they are actually in production right now on Mephisto. And that brings us to the end. So if you're confused about what's going on, all of the things that I've been referencing, that means you haven't been following the show. You haven't been staying up to date on your news. So in order to do that, you're going to have to subscribe and do all of the things. So don't forget to do that. Tap the thing on the screen that you see right now. That's going to take you to the play that's going to play all of the news for you. We actually are now in podcast format on YouTube, this new feature that they've been rolling out over the course of the last couple of weeks. So we're going to test that bad boy out. So I don't know, maybe leave a comment how you found the show if you're new to the show. Let me know how you found it. If you found it in podcast, then maybe it's working. All of that being said, thank you very much. We're going to head out. Always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here. Hello, Big Show nerds! We have another episode of the Nerd News. Today we are going to be talking about in movies Legend of the White Dragon, Gears of War, Star Wars, and Rebel Moon. They're going to be battling for news coverage. We also have Sweet Tooth trailer, The Orville gets a little bit of an update, Willow gets a little bit of an update, and so much more. So let's, do the thing. Hello, Nerdy Legion! Today's episode of Comic Talk Headlines is going to be packed full of follow-ups. That's kind of the way of things anymore, though, isn't it? So we're talking about Gears of War movie. We're talking about Legend of the White Dragon, if you're a Power Rangers fan. We're talking about Rebel Moon, Star Wars. We're talking about Batman in the rumor mill, Mephisto in the rumor mill. So much. Let's get into the things. And that, Big Show nerds, is the end of the episode. Let's talk about what I missed down in the comment section or, over on the socials or what have you. If you want to go deeper into the news, you want a little bit more news, you can join me on my personal YouTube channel at Generally Nerdy. But while you're here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all of the Big Show entertainment media platforms and tune in next week, maybe, for all of the nerd news. And that, Nerdy Legion, brings us to the end. Thank you for joining me. If you want to go deeper into comics and comic culture, then jump over to nerdylegion.com. See all of the other podcasts we offer on the subject. Or if you want to go deeper into the news, join me on my personal YouTube channel at Generally Nerdy. You can see all of the nerdy things that happen and not just from these 3 sections. And we'll do the thing. Thank you very much, nerds, for joining me. We will see you next time.